So I first of all want to start off by saying that I was completely 100% dead wrong. Nebraska not only failed to cover said point spread of, I believe, 6.5 points, they lost by 8 points in what would be probably one of the more humiliating games. I mean, not the most, obviously, but a humiliating game, another one in the Scott Frost tenure for Nebraska. Adrian Martinez in that game going 16 for 32, 232 yards, 1 touchdown, a passer rating of 121.2. That is atrocious. And that is absolutely atrocious. And not only that, the kid fumbled twice. One of it was returned for a touchdown. He was actually great on the ground besides the fumbles, scrambling for 111 yards and 1 touchdown. But the apparent dark horse Heisman quote messiah of Nebraska football has been proven to be nothing more than what, not to be mean here, but really a disappointment. He was outplayed by Arthur Satowski, who went for 12 of 15, 124 yards, 2 touchdowns. A guy from Rutgers who at one point in his career threw for 4 touchdowns and 18 interceptions with a 76 QB rating. So I'm shocked, but I look at this and BRET BIELEMA's back. I mean, we kind of had the sense that when he came here, Illinois would be instantly a better team. And I said before, I don't think on this podcast, but outside of this podcast, that the team that wins this game goes bowling. And I projected Nebraska to win and go bowling. So now Illinois here, they have the momentum. They play an easier game against UTSA. They can be 2-0 heading into Virginia, possibly 3-0 hosting Maryland. And really good for Illinois. That's what I want to start out with, is the good news for Illinois. Illinois played sound football. They got plenty of sacks thus far. I mean, last time I checked, they sacked Martinez five times. It's absolutely crazy. Illinois was a team that was only averaging just above 2 sacks just this last year. And this game, they had 5, maybe even more than 5. I was trying to keep track of that. But, I mean, just really disappointing play by Nebraska. I mean, Martinez overthrowing people, struggling to throw to the left. I actually thought that his awareness in the pocket, besides the sacks, was good. I mean, the guy made some moves. He was able to escape the pocket and rush for a few yards. I feel like it was more the offensive line's fault that he was sacked than his own, just from watching the game. And he's really shown that he's still good and competent on the ground, but you got to throw the ball. And that's what the issue was with Nebraska, is their defense was mean early in this game. And when they took that 6-2 lead, like their drive that they had and them shutting down Illinois, I thought like this is going to evolve into an absolute shredding of Illinois. It's going to be like 35-2 blowout. And it turned into anything but that. And Brandon Peters went down. The Rutgers transfer came in, absolutely torched anything Nebraska had to offer. Mike Epstein on the ground, Reggie Love III, combining for 120 yards and a touchdown. Mike Epstein running for a 45-yard long. This is humiliating. This is absolutely humiliating. And I don't care that it's BRET BIELEMA here at Illinois and he's back. But you also, Nebraska fans, just to remind you, you let Illinois chew 35 minutes off the clock, lead in time of possession. You outgained them by closer to 100 yards than closer to 50. You had each had 1 turnover. You, not only that, but you also mismanaged your plays, because everyone thought that you were on 3rd and goal when you were actually on 4th, and it was because of Illinois' own blown coverage that you didn't further mess that up and cost yourself the game right there. and then stringing everyone along before Martinez went on a complete 0-4 on the last down series in the matchup. He got a first down and then proceeded to throw 4 incomplete passes, underthrew the last one. Another shot that was going to be a touchdown but turned into a field goal. Again, overthrowing people. Martinez is not good with throwing. I have never understood why anyone would buy into the dark horse Heisman Messiah concept. And what I hate about the word using the word Messiah with sports is anyone who uses that term, like puts it on someone in sports, usually that person horribly disappoints. And this is in the case of Martinez and also in the case of just Nebraska, period. I mean, running it. You have Adrian Martinez, who's proven a ground threat. You attempt to run it up the middle 2 times inside of Illinois' 5-10 yard line when they have stopped you several times from running up the middle. I think Adrian Martinez, I'm looking at the stats here, on the ground, I think Adrian Martinez, he was the only person to run besides Samori Torrey, who only had 2 carries, the only person with more than 2 carries to have an average of more than 3.3 yards per carry. Gabe Ervin, the running back who had the most carries, only got just under a 3-yard average and only had an 11-yard long rush compared to Illinois, who successfully, I'd say more successfully outside of the Martinez factor, ran the ball, pounded, they controlled the game ever since that forced fumble and fumble return for a touchdown. They controlled that game. BRET BIELEMA looked like he knew what he was doing. Nebraska just looked confused, unorganized. And where was that defensive improvement? Where was the defensive improvement? I mean, seriously, no forced fumbles by no, actually that's incorrect. 1 forced fumble by Nebraska, no interceptions. Nothing on special teams besides a mess up that resulted in a safety for the Illini. Where's these improvements for Nebraska? I'm disappointed because I seriously thought that Nebraska here was going to be a team that was going bowling. And the question that I've been trying to get to while explaining all this, but I have to explain the stats and the disappointment and everything, and not only that, the penalties. The penalties. I mean, roughing the passer, that was kind of questionable. And then like several holding calls on critical downs where they just needed to get down quickly. And then Martinez, I've criticized him so far, but he actually clutched up in the end, and he was carrying the entire team on his back while everyone else was, holding or other stuff as well. Not only that, but the offensive pass interference call. I mean, what were you doing? What was your team doing? It was just disappointing. That's all I can really say about that. But the question is, what is Frost's future? BIELEMA is back. If Illinois beats Virginia, who I think is a competent team and is a winning team this year, if Illinois beats Virginia, they're in business to have a winning record, and I'm not kidding you. They beat Virginia. They start out 3-0. I think they're beating Purdue and Charlotte. They somehow beat Maryland. They can start out with more than a winning record. Rutgers is a winnable game. Northwestern's a winnable game. I say at most, you ride the momentum, you could see 7-5. And I'm being serious when I say that. So we know that so far. And it's year 1 with BIELEMA, so even if after this win he gets a double-digit losing season, I'd be disappointing, but BIELEMA's not going to be on the hot seat. His job is not in question here. But Frost, Nebraska fans, what should be done with Frost? Because after this game, Nebraska here, you have Fordham and Buffalo. Fordham should be very winnable. Same with Buffalo. You travel to Oklahoma. So starting, you'll probably go 2-2 maybe worse. We don't know. Travel at Michigan State. You host a solidly coached, more proven Northwestern team. Host Michigan. I don't see how you're beating Michigan now. I don't see how that game is a trap game for Michigan after this performance against Illinois, unless Michigan blows its performance against Western Michigan in week 1. I'm saying that as a Michigan fan. I don't see how you're beating Minnesota. Help yourselves to the fact that Purdue is no longer a completely winnable game. Don't see how you're beating Ohio State or Wisconsin or even Iowa now. The season's, it's not over yet in actuality, but in theory, your season's finished. You had this opportunity. You were gifted an easy conference opener to give your team some momentum and some confidence that you can play with the Big Ten. And, that Martinez, you were given a tune-up game, in a certain sense, a tune-up conference game. I mean, Illinois last year was probably a worse team than Buffalo. And Fordham's easily a tune-up game. You were given 3 tune-up games before Oklahoma. And I thought that if this team was solid, knowing how Oklahoma's dropped some games against opponents at home, you had a, tiny chance to shock the world. You always do, and you didn't. So what is Scott Frost going to do now? Because I think he's done after this year. I almost think it's more guaranteed after this year he's done than Harbaugh is after this loss. It's an early loss to a bad team that not many other teams are going to lose to. Not kidding you. Illinois, I think they're going bowling now because I said whoever wins this game's going bowling. They'll still have a hard time getting there. Don't get me wrong. They'll have a hard time getting there. And just to bring it back, I think after this game, for Scott Frost, it should be you beat Oklahoma, or you beat Michigan, or you beat Oklahoma, or you're fired. That's what it should be. You lose to Illinois. Illinois, out of all teams, the team who last year had the 92nd strength of record, who last year had the 97th scoring defense and the 112th scoring offense. Brandon Peters, the kid who transferred to Illinois because he had little to no arm strength, looks like a complete bust of a QB. He goes out. He's in theory better than Arthur Satowski, and Satowski just mauls you. Throws for 2 touchdown passes, 12 of 15, 124 yards, a 193 quarterback ranking. And not only that, I don't think he wasn't sacked nearly as much as Martinez was, and Satowski is in no way, shape, or form as mobile. That's just, what do you all think about this? I mean, this isn't as shocking as Purdue beating Ohio State or other things, but this is a game that Scott Frost, I think, had to win to show that he could go bowling this year. And I think his chances to go bowling just went from a little over 50% to very close to 0. Tell me what you think in the comments below. I was almost disgusted watching this game, in the third quarter, when Illinois was up by 21. I'm like, what? Where's the defensive improvement that I seriously thought was possible with 9 returning defensive starters, a defense that improved its allowed average yards per play in an all-conference schedule? Where was that? And where was the whole no turnovers from Adrian Martinez? He still made turnovers. The quarterback's coach promised he's going to work on it. You have all the talent in the world. You know what you are, ranked by 24/7 Sports? The 28th most talented team this year. 28th. You're the 28th most talented team. My Michigan Wolverines are 15th. They hopped over some teams, and I'm happy with that. They're still probably going to disappoint. You know what's even worse? You are more disappointing than Michigan is. You're more disappointing than my team is with all their 5 stars and 4 stars, because we can actually have winning seasons and win one bowl game. You can't even reach a bowl game. This is terrible. And I'm not ripping Nebraska's program or tradition or anything like that. or great school. But Frost needs, if he doesn't win some big games this season, if he doesn't go bowling, he needs to go. He just needs to go. Tell me what you think about this loss in the comments below. And if you like this video, remember to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell and just comment your thoughts below. What did you think of this loss? Because I watched mostly the entire thing, and it was not what I thought it would be. It was terrible. Call it what it is. It was near gutter trash. Thank you for watching, everyone, and I'll see you around.